All right, good morning, traders. Today is July 15th, 2025. My name is John Carignan. I am the lead instructor here at BYOB Trading. That is the hit and run candlesticks day trading division. All right, so here's the topic today: how I plan to trade SPY today. All right, so hey, before we get into it, you know what I'll do? I'll go ahead and do the monologue, and then we'll look at how I traded SPY yesterday, and we'll look at a few breakouts that could possibly develop. All right, so let's go ahead and start that off first. And we want, which one do we want? We want that one right there. Okay. All right, so hey, good morning, traders. Today is July 15th. Thank you for being here. Hey, thank you everybody out there in podcast land, digital land, cyber land. Thank you so much for following or subscribing to my content. Again, I try to provide actionable, profitable content every day. Hey, my SPY pivot this morning, 623.75. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. All of the Fab Five are in daily uptrends still. Yes, they are all still bullish. Nothing's broken yet. KIWM made a lower low and a lower high, closing over a bullish trap over the 17 EMA. FNGU, diamond down, QQQ made outside days. That's higher highs and lower lows. QQQ and Diamond Dow closed over their bullish traps, over their 17 EMAs, while FNGU closed under a bearish trap and over its 17 EMA. Still hanging out above that 17. Okay, SPY closed with a higher high and a higher low. It also closed with a 2-hour uptrend, a 10-minute downtrend. Closed the daily candle over the bullish trap and over the 17 EMA. SPY had a really good day yesterday. Okay, gold still in an uptrend. Gold made a lower low and a lower high, closing over a bullish trap over the 17 EMA. Silver dropped a mic, made a new 12-year high, okay? It's just ratcheting up higher. Remember, the all-time high is about $48, all right? So USO still in a daily uptrend. USO made a bearish engulfing candle, making a lower low and a lower high, closing under the bullish trap, but over the 17 EMA. UNG still in that daily downtrend in a head and shoulders pattern, massive head and shoulders pattern. All right, it made a higher high and a higher low, closing over the bearish trap, but under the 17 EMA. US dollar index still in a downtrend. Hey, we love that. Closed near 98.11. SPY Max Pain for today, 623 with a put to call ratio. And these are for the puts and calls that expire today. All right, and remember, index options expire at 4:15. Security options expire at 4. Okay, so the index options, they have a put to call ratio of about 1.89. Reminder, okay, CPI comes out today at 8:30. Okay, just a reminder in case you want to get hedged. In other words, you might be long some SPY, maybe you want to short a little bit QQQ. All right, just to kind of equal it out. You know what I'm saying? Just saying, like you might want to be delta neutral going into CPI. I don't expect a big move. I do expect a big move off the bank earnings coming today. All right. All right, so what did we have flagged? Well, I think we had FLIR to have flagged. Had a little star next to it. And CRDO, okay? And then we got some new ones here that looks like they got themselves a new flag or star. So let's go look at FLIR and look at CRDO. Star means they're in a bullish grinder box, grinding away at overhead supply, just working their way up, looking for a breakout, okay? So let's go look at FLIR first, all right? And let's take this down. Let's take a look at FLR. Okay, so here was the grinder box right here, 5-day grinder box, and there was the breakout yesterday. Look at that. I would be looking for some follow through on that candle. That's a nice looking candle. Not as nice as that one, but that's still a nice candle. Okay, let's take a look at CRDO. Okay, see the RDO still setting up. Only the 4th day. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, usually on the 5th day or the 6th day, the 7th. That's when the magic usually happens. CRDO still in the box here. Okay, still, but inching its way higher. Okay, there's CRDO. Still, I think that's still flag. Let's go take a peek. Yep, still got the star next to it. All right, let's look at 5. Let's look at TNGX. Let's look at TMX. All right. Is that TMX or was that the movie channel? Yeah, that was the movie channel. TMC. All right. So let's look at 5, TNGX, and TMC. I call it the movie channel. It's really not the name. All right. I think the real name is, we'll see what here. TMC, the metals company. Okay. It says TMC. I call it the movie channel. It's not the movie channel. It's the metals company. Okay. So you can see here's TMC in that grinder box right through there. Kind of look at the close on that. Okay. Up here in the flag. Instead of selling off normally on the wick, all right, they decided to hang out up here. So this looks higher. All right, I like TMC right there. TNGX. All right, only the 4th day, getting wicky up there, right? Only the 4th day in that grinder box up top there. And what was the other one? Was let's see what we got. TNG 5. Let's go take a look at 5. All right. And let's take a look at FIVE. Oh yeah, look at 5 breaking out here. Okay, so we got a grinder box right there. Okay, and you can see 5 breaking out right here today. That's a nice looking candle. I think I said the same thing about somebody else. I think FLR. Yeah, FLR. Okay, so I would look for some follow through on that candle. That's a nice looking candle. FIVE right there. All right, so those are the ones. So that's what the star means. All right, if you're following me here in the room and you're wondering what the star means, okay, that's what it means. They're in that bullish grinder box, ready to. They're building the launch pad. That's what I call it. Okay, they're creating this is the launch pad, and this is mission to mission control takeoff right here. Okay, that's what that means. They're building the launch pad to make the launch. All right, so that was yesterday and today's. And what was I going to talk about? I was going to talk about SPY, how we traded SPY yesterday. Okay, so let's take a look at the 5-minute. Okay, so on the 5-minute, this was the 14th. Okay, so we opened up over. We broke over the overnight high. Okay. Right up through here and breaking up over that overnight high, and that was right here and right there over that overnight high. Took a little while. Okay, each one of these is a 5-minute candle. You can see that did not manifest until let's see here what candle that is. About 11, about 10:50 right there, okay? And then we got our 10-minute uptrend, okay? 10-minute uptrend over VWAP. See this brown line, that's VWAP. We got a 10-minute uptrend. So what's a 10-minute uptrend, John? All right, so that's the 3 EMA, okay? That's the yellow line on top of the 8 EMA, okay? So we had a 10-minute uptrend, and they're all on top. Let's see, 3 on top of the 8. Okay, and you can see most of the time they're on top of the 17 as well. And you can see they're up over VWAP. All right, VWAP is the brown line. So we had a 10-minute uptrend over VWAP. So what did I buy? I bought some what did I buy? I bought some, I traded some 625 calls, 0 DTE. Traded some 626 calls, 0 DTE. Traded some 627 calls, 0 DTE. And in addition to that, I traded some, and I still have some left over. I traded some 3 DTE, 635 calls right there. Okay, so that's what I traded yesterday. Okay, I bought some Amazon calls. All right, I did make a little bit of profit on those Amazon calls. Those are 3 days till expiration, 235 calls. All right, and I bought some Intel 25 strike, 66 day till expiration calls, and I made a little bit of money on those. The Amazon calls pulled back. All right. So we'll see what those look like. Let me see if I can pull those up. So here's the Amazon calls. And you can see here yesterday, while it was up over my cost basis, I took some profit. And you can see, even though it didn't melt down, it just kind of moved sideways. You can see where the option decay, this is your theta decay. And it went from, well, you can see right here, my cost basis was 30 cents. And it retraced all the way to 20 cents. Okay, that's that theta decay. As time ticks away, they take something off the price. Okay, so I had some Amazon calls. Now, I will wait for a bullish 10-minute uptrend, and I will probably have to whack it hard with some more calls so I can exit probably 3/4 of those at just break even. All right, because I just want to bring my cost basis down. All right, so that I can sell what I had planned as a profit. All right, so I'll be looking for that 10-minute uptrend. And you can see there right now, they're just on the top of that base. Okay, so if they give me a breakout up there, okay, I'll have to whack this hard with some more calls. That means I'll have to buy or double down, all right, in order to exit 3/4 of those at just cost or break even, leaving the remainder to ride out for a move up higher. Okay, so that's Amazon. Intel, you can see Intel pulled back, so I picked some up here on the pullback yesterday. See, here's the pullback right there, so I picked up some calls there. I think Intel gets all the way up to actually 26 area. All right, we'll see. Okay, it's making higher lows, so it's doing the right stuff. All right, it's making higher lows, and here's a high, made a higher high right there, and then another higher high right there. So it's doing some of the right stuff. So we'll see. I think it can get up to 26. We're at 23 now. 26 would be nice. We'll see. All right. So we'll see. So I got some 25 strike, 66 day till expiration calls. Okay, for that. All right. Let's go back to SPY again. On SPY, all right, I traded that 10-minute uptrend right here, 10-minute uptrend over VWAP. Okay, I always trade that. All right, that's how I make money most of the time. Whenever I get price and price zigzags back and forth across it like this, okay, 2 or 3 times before noon, then it's probably going to be a breakout. Unless, of course, price can give me a green erases red over the bodies of those. And here was the green erases red right there. So you can see the bodies all blocked off right here. Okay, see there's the bodies. And look at all these tails down here showing me buyers. Tails show you where the buyers are. See that? That's buyers, buyers, buyers. Wicks show you where the sellers are. See? Sellers. So tails, buyers. Wicks show you sellers. All right. So we had all these buyers down here. And then we got a nice green candle. I said, I'll take some of that. And we had the trend day because we had a 10-minute uptrend over VWAP between the hours of 11 and noon. And whenever that happens, There's an 80 to 70% chance it's going to continue to 2 or 230, and then there's a 40% chance it finishes near the end of at the end of the day, near the high of the day. Okay, 40 to 50% on that one. All right, but usually 70 to 80% is going to continue that 10-minute uptrend all the way up until 2 o'clock, 2:30. Okay, and you can see it lasted well past 2:30, that 10-minute uptrend. It didn't start to close out till right here, that candle 310 right there, and then they gave it up. All right, so there's SPY 10-minute uptrend. So I'm gonna be looking for the same thing. All right, continuation of that 10-minute uptrend. You can see we're gapping up this morning. So on that, let's take a peek at this. Let's take this off. Dial it down. All right. I have a measured move target this morning up here of about 529.70. We'll see how that pans out. So I'm going to draw my lines. All right. So I'll put overnight high, okay, or pre-market high and pre-market low. All right. So if we break the pre-market low, good chance we're probably going to come down and try to fill gap down here. All right, there's a possibility we come and try to fill gap, and they may just get to the green line, which would be minor support, and J-hook back to the upside. All right, so breaking below the pre-market low, where I'd be looking for price to pull back to the minor support, which is the top of these candles here. If we break out the top, I have a measured move target of 629.70. 629.70 if they break out on the top side. Okay, let's take a look at the game plan this morning, and you can see. Let's take it back to game plan. All right, and let's take it back to game plan right here. Okay, so here we got a green erases red entry. All right, this is the SPY game plan. Let's pull this over here. SPY game plan. Okay, dragging a little bit more. Okay, SPY game plan. You can see we've got a green erases red, but we're already up over it. Over 625.15. Okay, that would have been yesterday's high. So that would be green erases red. There's a entry over 625.15. The pivot, of course, 623.75. Above it, I'm a bull. Below it, I'm a bear. Okay. And then we have a red erases green. Okay. See all these wicks that developed yesterday? Well, if we cut through those wicks, all right, it's a good chance we're probably heading lower. All right, back down to 620.20 and test that area. Okay. So first, red erases green entry underneath 622.25. Okay, so that's the SPY game plan, all right, for this morning. All right, that's there. We're already up over here. So again, I'll be looking for a pre-market breakout of the range. Okay, pre-market breakout of the range. And then I will mark off the first 15 minutes of the open market range and look for a breakout of that. All right, so let's take a look at QQQ game plan. QQQ's got a game plan as well. All right, you can see bullish over 556.90. We're already up over it. That is the green erases red entry. QQQ pivot 555. Bearish red erases green. Again, underneath this bullish engulfing move right down here at the beginning of the day. So underneath 553, that's a red erases green entry. Okay, so on SPY and QQQ, which options do I like? Well, I like Friday options. I always like Friday options. They got more open interest. And I like the Friday options with the multiple of 5. All right, so I like 555, 560, 565. All right, so those are the ones I like. So if we're on SPY and we're at 526 rate, 625 rate, 626 right now, I will probably like the 630 calls. I like the 625 calls. I like the 640 calls, all right, or 635 calls, all right. If I want puts, I will probably like the 620 puts, the 615 puts, the 610 puts. All right, it's on SPY. So on QQQ, I would like again, Friday options, either 3 days till expiration or 10 days till expiration. Friday options on the multiple of 5. So 555, 560, 565. Okay, I like them $5 to $15 out of the money. All right, because they're a little bit cheaper. I don't get the performance that I would from a 0 DTE in the money. Okay, but I'm a little bit safer. It's a little less risk put out there. Okay, remember, the more you pay for it, the more you can lose. All right, so if you want the best performing option, all right, most of the time it's going to be the 0 DTE in the money option. All right, that's going to be your best performing option, giving you the closest to that penny for penny move that you would see in the SPY. If you want your option to move up a penny when the SPY moves up a penny, it would probably or more likely be the 0 DTE in the money call or in the money option there. Okay, so I like 10-minute uptrends over VWAP, and this applies to QQQ and SPY. Just because we're on QQQ's game page, all right, doesn't mean it doesn't apply to SPY. Again, I like 10-minute uptrends over VWAP. Okay, it's no secret. I keep saying it day after day. There's a 10-minute uptrend. See, 10-minute chart. 3 on top of the 8, on top of the 17. 10-minute uptrend. Here's VWAP, the brown line. Okay, all right. I like 10-minute uptrend over VWAP. I like 10-minute downtrends under VWAP. Now, let me say this, okay? Now, if a 10-minute uptrend develops, like down here, okay, long before the green erases red entry, okay, and we break the rubber band candle, or we pass through the pivot, one of the two, preferably both. All right, if we get a 10-minute uptrend that manifests down here or even down here, okay, down below the red line, all right, and manifests down there, okay, as long as we break the rubber band candle, okay, or the pivot, come back up through the pivot, all right, I'd be highly interested in trading that 10-minute uptrend that manifests down here. Same with the 10-minute downtrend that may manifest up here, okay? Up above the green line, up above the pivot, long before you get to the red erases green entry down here. Okay, so if it manifests up here and it happens to break the rubber band candle or pass through the pivot, I'd be highly interested in trading that 10-minute downtrend long before it gets to the red erases green entry. Okay, so just want to put that out there. Okay, you don't have to wait for the red erases green entry. Okay, remember, the market's still bullish. It's preferable to play the upside. Now, my favorite, all right, is the 10-minute uptrend. All right, so that's a 10-minute chart. Okay, with a 10-minute uptrend over VWAP. See how price is cutting away from VWAP, which is the brown line. See how it's creating space and cutting away. All right, that's what we like. All right, I like that. Okay, now I like that when it's inside of a 2-hour uptrend. All right, so here we got 2-hour chart. Hey, look, we got a 2-hour uptrend, okay? All right, and I like it when this 2-hour uptrend happens to be inside of a daily uptrend. Hey, look, we got a daily uptrend, okay? And I like it when that daily uptrend is inside of a weekly uptrend. Hey, look at that. 3 on top of the 8, over the 17. Nice weekly uptrend. And I like it when that weekly uptrend is inside of a monthly uptrend. You see what I'm doing here? Okay, I'm getting all of the energy from the wind in my sails, all right? All right, it's just easier, okay? So in case I get a pullback, all right, on the 10-minute, all right, it's more likely to hit the 8 EMA right here at 555 and bounce, you know, and not hurt me so bad. Okay, let's just say I got 3 days or 10 days till expiration options. All right, and I'm trading them, and the 10-minute downtrend decides put in a candle that comes back pretty harsh. All right, but you can see it comes back to you got that 8 EMA, which is respected most of the time. Okay, right there to protect you. All right, and it doesn't really offer any protection, but it's a typical place for price to bounce away from, same as the 17. Okay, so, and it's the same on the daily chart. Okay, price will often pull back to the 8 and then bounce away, or it pulls back to the 3 and then bounce away. So you've got the weekly uptrend, the daily uptrend, the 3 and the 8 and the 17, okay, and the monthly uptrend, the 3, the 8 and the 17. So, you know, the pullbacks aren't as harsh, and the runners, in other words, the long sides, tend to run further because there's less resistance up overhead. Not to say that there isn't any resistance, but you'll notice that the highs are up there in the distance, and you can see we're up there today, making new highs, all right, in the pre-market. Look at that. Okay, new highs in the pre-market right now on SPY and QQQ. All right, so I like it when I got that 10-minute uptrend over VWAP inside the 2-hour uptrend, all right, inside the daily uptrend, inside the weekly uptrend, inside the monthly uptrend, and all that's over the prior all-time high anchored VWAP, okay? For me, that is the ultimate, that's the ultimate setup, okay? These don't come around forever. There's usually one of them that's not in an uptrend. All right, it might be the weekly. It might be the monthly. The weekly might be still moving up, but the monthly is no longer in an uptrend, okay? Or the daily's not in an uptrend, but the weekly and the monthly are, okay? But when you get them all lined up together, all right, all supporting each other, all right, for me, that's the ultimate setup over the all-time high anchored VWAP, which is the pink line. That's a show of strength. That's like a parade of strength right there, okay? In SPY, QQQ, all right? So that's what I like, those 10-minute uptrends. Now, how do you trade them? Again, I like 3 days till expiration or 10 days till expiration options. All right, I like them $5 to $15 out of the money. Okay, they will waffle around a little bit, and then you might feel like you got a pretty rotten entry. All right, do this. Don't go all in at once. All right, pepper your orders. All right. Let another 15-minute candle go by. Maybe there'll be a low in that candle where you can add a little bit to your cost basis. All right, as long as you're not overextending your risk. All right, remember what your risk is. All right, don't go all 100% of my risk in on one number. Okay, kind of use a shotgun approach and pepper your orders around that one number. All right, you might get better if you wait. All right, don't get the FOMO. Oh, it's taken off without me. Okay, that's bad habit. All right, have the patience. Wait up. It may pull back to the 8 EMA, maybe even to the 17, giving you that opportunity to trade it to the upside. All right, on those options. Okay, because they like to whip those options prices around a lot more so than they do than the actual price movement. Okay, price may drop 5 cents, and all of a sudden the option drops, I don't know, like 10 cents. All right, that's normal. All right, so it will happen. All right, so pepper your orders so you can kind of keep your cost basis in line. So when price does finally get moving again, all right, you got a good chance of capturing some profits on those. Okay, so there's QQQ, SPY. All right, so back to SPY. All right, and what are we looking for here? Let's look at the 10-minute chart. Okay, you can see we came into the close with a 10-minute downtrend. Not much of a 10-minute downtrend. It's up over VWAP. Never even pulled back to VWAP yesterday. Okay, and of course we're gapping up higher. All right, so I would look for a continuation of this 10-minute uptrend that we had. Little consolidation into there. Okay, and then on the 2-hour chart, as mentioned earlier, 2-hour uptrend coming into the close yesterday. Daily chart, okay, looking like a little grinder box up there, okay, kind of like a box poised for a breakout. All right, grinder box setup right up there. You can see yesterday's candle was a as a higher, yes, a higher low and a higher high, closing over a bullish trap over the 17 EMA. Thanks, Alan. Alan just posted CPI. We'll look at it in a few minutes. Right there, over. Notice it closed over the bullish trap, over the rising 17. You know, clear up top here on the quadrant 4. Notice price moves up and holds the higher ground. Okay, that's a bullish environment. Okay, price moves up and then holds the higher ground. That's a bullish environment like that. Okay, if you understand exercise or calisthenics, you know, if you do a little bit of physical workout, moving up, okay, that's like planking for 6.5 hours up there. Okay, so that, you know how long that takes. A lot of strength to plank for 6 hours. Okay, well, that's what they did. They moved it up and they held the higher ground. Okay, it's very easy, okay, to move up and give it up. All right, that's just neutral though. All right, when you can move up and you hold that higher ground, that's a show of strength. Anytime you see that movement, now you're not going to see it in one candle. All right, you have to look for it in the groups of candles and in the pattern that it's making. You see that? Up, over to the right, holding higher ground, consolidating over prior consolidation. Again, that's also bullish as well. All right, so there's SPY, all right, with a show of strength. All right, still there. That's bullish. Okay, you're in an uptrend because you got higher lows and higher highs. Okay, so here's a couple of lows. Well, there's a higher low and there's a higher low. Okay, there's a high, there's a higher high, a higher high, a higher high, and yeah, another higher high. Okay, you can see in the pre-market they're already making new all-time highs. See that? 627.36. Okay, we have not been up there yet. All right, so there's SPY. Okay, QQQ. All right, QQQ, same deal. Okay, only an outside day. Higher high, lower low, closing over a bullish trap, over the 17, grinder box setup, price action moves. Again, all right, it's moving up and then over to the right. That's bullish, all right? Again, that's strength. Okay, that's like planking for 6 hours. Okay? All right, up over prior all-time high anchored VWAP. That's the pink line right here. Okay, see? Price hold over the 17 EMA. Okay, that's beautiful. There's QQQ, daily chart. That's in an uptrend, all right? And it's making higher lows. See the lows here? Okay, we've got a higher low. See the high here? Higher high, all right? So that's bullish and in an uptrend. Top of quadrant 4. Anytime you're in the upper third, that's bullish. Lower third, bearish. They're in the upper third. Okay, they're up over all of this consolidation right there. There's QQQ. Let's take a look at IWM. Okay, IWM puts in a lower high, lower low, but closing over a bullish trap. That's bullish. In the bullish trap, over the bullish trap is bullish. Over the rising 17 is bullish. Again, moving up, holding the higher ground up here. Okay, that's bullish over the all-time high anchored VWAP. That's the pink line. They're in the upper third, so that's bullish. They're in the uptrend, okay? See the lows? Okay, we got higher lows. See the highs? We got a higher high. That's uptrend. Bullish, okay, in the upper third. Okay, over the all-time high anchored VWAP. There's IWM, Diamond Dow. Okay, Diamond Dow puts in I have to zoom in. An outside day. It's a higher high and a lower low, closing over a bullish trap again. That's bullish. Okay, again, moving up. See the plank over to the right. All right, holding the higher ground. Quadrant 4, that's bullish in an uptrend. The lows, when we're making higher lows, see the highs, higher high. Okay, bullish and in an uptrend. Okay, FNGU. All right, FNGU moving up and over to the right. That's bullish. All right, up and over. Again, planking for 6 hours. Okay, so FNGU. Up here, top of quadrant 4, that's bullish. Up over the pink line, the all-time high anchored VWAP, that's bullish. All right, got a couple of lows. All right, look, we made a higher low, got a high, we made a higher high. So uptrend, bullish on FNGU. Okay, now we watch FNGU. Only has 10 securities in it, but those 10 are some of the heaviest weighted securities inside SPY and QQQ. All right, so when they move as a pack, all right, they can drag those indexes right along with them. All right, when they move as a pack. Okay, so we'll see what happens. And then when they don't move, believe me, they can just park the SPY or the QQQ, all right, for the whole day if they decide not to move. All right, but when they do move, they will drag those two indexes with them. Okay, so that's why we watch the FNGU. All right, so there's FNGU. Let's take a look at some technicals, and we'll start right here. T2122, 15-minute chart. Okay, so we came out of the seller's chop zone. All right, and we made some higher lows, and we found ourselves inside the buyer's chop zone. Made some higher lows, and then we found ourselves inside the buy zone. So we finished the day yesterday inside the buy zone. That's a bullish move. Higher low, higher high. Higher low, higher high. Higher low, higher high. Bullish move. T2122. All right, look at T2123, okay? Not just one candle. Look at what it's doing. Up, over to the right. Again, planking for 6 hours, all right? That's bullish. That's strength, all right? Takes incredible amount of strength to do that, okay? So look, price action, all right? New rally high, okay? See the daylight between the bars and the top of this candle here? New rally high yesterday, okay? Up over, rising 200 SMA. Got a bullish gap not filled by the bears. That's telling you who's in control. The bulls are, okay? When the bears can't fill these bullish gaps, all right, then the bulls are probably in control, all right? When you see price move up and hold the higher ground, that's showing you the bulls are in control, all right now. Okay? When you see price, okay, move up and then give it up, that's just neutral, okay? But like I said, when this goes up and holds that higher ground, that's where it's at, okay? That's a show of strength right there, okay? So there's T2123, 15-minute chart. Okay, it's in an uptrend, okay? You got some lows, there's some higher lows. Okay, you got some highs. Hey, you made a new rally high. Doesn't get any better than that, okay? Unless you make a new all-time high. So there's T2123, 15-minute chart, bullish, and in an uptrend. All right, let's take a look at the same chart on the 3-bar. All right, so we got a low. See, we got a higher low. We got a high. Well, new rally high. All right, enough said. All right. Okay, so Doesn't get any better than that unless you're making a new all-time high. Okay, so that's bullish and in an uptrend and over the hooking 200 SMA. Over two prior all-time highs right here and ready to attack the all-time high. Okay, that right there is the all-time high for T2123. And this measures about 8 to 12,000 of the securities inside the NYSE. All right, FNGU, excuse me. Okay, yesterday's price action, okay? A little selling at the beginning of the day. All right, and then somebody woke up the three bears. All right, and they had to scram out of the house. And then the bulls took over, up over VWAP. Okay, almost to the end of the day. And I guess the bulls had a doctor's appointment or something because they just stopped right there. Okay, but they held it up over VWAP almost all day. Look at that. Price action, candle bars. Okay, almost green from the beginning to the end. Had like 3 or 4 candles at the beginning and 3 or 4 candles at the end. All right, but all in all, they held up the higher ground. Again, you can see price action moves up. All right, it's just kind of a sloppy hold. All right, and then you can see I'm going to put it way up here because it'll just cross out that. And then over to the right. See, up and over. That's bullish. All right, so there's FNGU. This is those 10 securities, okay? All right, so you can see price action up over this all-time high anchored VWAP. That's bullish. FNGU, 15-minute chart. Okay, are they in an uptrend? Yes, because they made a higher high right here yesterday. Okay, see there's a high. They made a higher high on the 15-minute chart. So they got themselves in an uptrend coming into the close for FNGU on the 15-minute. Let's take a look at XLE. All right. All right, XLE. All right. Look at that nice candle there the other day. XLE, lower high, lower low, closing inside a bullish trap. That's bullish. Over the 17, that's bullish. Okay, over downtrend line 1, over downtrend line 2, knocking on the door of the all-time high anchored VWAP right there. Okay, now you notice price action has a habit of, on the XLE, of moving up, look, and then giving it up. Move up, give it up. Okay, same thing on the bottom side. They move down, and then they give it up. Okay, so that makes them neutral, okay, because they're not in the lower third. Okay, that would be down here. Okay, that would be the lower third. They're not in the upper third. That would be up here. Okay, they're just in the middle. They're right in here. Okay, right in the middle, right between, right in this box, right in here. That makes them neutral. Okay, they're in between the bullish and the bearish. Okay, so they're neutral. Again, they go up and they give it up. They go down and they give it up. So they're just neutral at this time. Okay, but they are making higher lows and they are making higher highs. Believe it or not, they inked out a penny higher high, okay, on that green candle right there to make a higher high after making this higher low right here. Okay, so that's an uptrend, all right? Again, they're not in the upper third, not in the lower third, so they're just neutral and in an uptrend, all right? So maybe this time they can hold the higher ground instead of giving it up. Notice they go up, all right, and then give it up. They have a habit of it, see? They go up, give it up. Go up, give it up, okay? But we do like the higher lows, okay? That helps us define the uptrend. Okay, so there's XLE, just neutral. Let's take a look at USO. All right, USO with the bearish engulfing. They were in the upper third, okay? They were up here in the upper third. They lost it yesterday, okay? They were bullish in the upper third, closing candles up here. That was bullish. So they're just neutral right now. Again, you see price move up and then give it up. So that's just neutral. You got to, okay, they are holding some of the higher ground, but not enough to get into the upper third yet. So they're just right here in the middle ground. So they're just neutral. They're up over this 3-year high anchored VWAP. You can see this extends back. This is a post-COVID high right there. That's the last time we were up there, this high. Okay, so there's a post-COVID high. All right, and they've been struggling ever since. Okay, so there's USO. Neutral today. They were bullish yesterday. All right, neutral day before. So they're just neutral right now. Okay, and in an uptrend, see the higher lows and the higher high. Okay, but notice they move up and they give it up. All right. Okay, you move up, you give it up. That's just neutral. Okay, when you get up there and you hold the higher ground, okay, that's bullish. They're showing you that they could recover this later today. We'll see what happens. Maybe they recover it this week and wind up closing up here in the upper third. Have to wait and see. All right. So there's USO. Let's take a look at UNG. USO neutral and in an uptrend. UNG bearish and in a downtrend. Okay, so on UNG we've got ourselves. You can see up here's the head, that triple crown up there. Okay, and then we've got a right shoulder, got a double top here. Okay, and a left shoulder right here. Okay, so we're in a downtrend, and then you can see we broke the neckline right there. Okay, so price action. All right, showing you a head and shoulders in a downtrend. Again, we've got lower highs. See those highs? Lower high. Here's a couple of highs. Here's a couple of lower highs. Okay, so here's some low. Here's 4 lows. And look at this. We just made 3 lower lows. All right, so that's a downtrend. Okay, price action up over this. This is an 18-month high anchored VWAP. Okay, not a very high bar to set there. Okay, notice we're in the lower third. Okay, we're down here, so that makes us bearish. All right, so UNG bearish and in a downtrend and showing you a head and shoulders pattern. Okay, let's take a look at gold and silver. Gold's in an uptrend. Gold again moving up. All right, holding the higher ground. And over to the right, that's bullish. Up on quadrant 4, that's bullish. All right, up over the uptrend line, bullish. Okay, up over the all-time high anchored VWAP, that's bullish. Let's zoom in here, look at this candle. Okay, we've got lower high, lower low, but closing over a bullish trap, over the 17, over the all-time high anchored VWAP, that's bullish. GLD. Let's take a look at silver. Silver, new 12-year high right there, okay? Last time we were up this high was 12 years ago, okay? New rally high, new 12-year high, okay? Just drop the mic, all right? Doesn't get much better than that unless you're making a new all-time high, okay? So if I take out the weekly chart, and you can see I can zoom all the way back to 2012 before I get into those highs right there. See that? 2012. All right, so it's new 12-month high, 13-year high. All right, that's bullish. All right, and in an uptrend. Okay, on the daily chart, new rally high, new 12-year high. All right, let's take a look at a few sectors. Let's start off with SMH. All right, SMH, quadrant 4, okay, in an uptrend, hanging out at the top of quadrant 4, that's bullish. Okay, there's no question. See all the green dots? That's an uptrend. Okay, that's bullish and in an uptrend, again, over that prior all-time high anchored VWAP. Nice move, SMH. XLK. Okay, same deal. Up at the top of quadrant 4, see all the green dots? Bullish and in an uptrend. Okay, XLF. Got some financials reporting this week. Okay, see all the green dots? Bullish. Top of quadrant 4 and in an uptrend over that prior all-time high. That's bullish. Okay, and an uptrend. Transports in the upper third, all right, up in quadrant 4, that's bullish up over this all-time high anchored VWAP and in an uptrend. Got a couple of lows right here. Okay, you can see 3 higher lows there. Got a couple of highs right here. Got a higher high there. Uptrend. Bullish. All right. That's transports. All right, let's take a look at the economic package, and we'll take a look at some CPI. CPI ticking up some. I don't think the market cares. We'll see what happens. All right, for the dollar, okay? Here's the dollar right here. All right, dollar index, okay? This is major support right through there. Okay, we broke major support. Notice we are putting it in, see the high up here? Well, there's a lower high right there. And then another lower high. And guess what we're making? See that low? We're making lower lows. So we're in a downtrend. Okay, we broke through major support. Came back and tested the minor resistance. All right, we couldn't get up and hold. See, that's the clincher. You got to get up and you got to hold the higher ground. Failed to do it. So we're still in this downtrend here. All right, making a 3-year low. All right, because last time we were there was 2022. All right, so downtrend, making a 3-year low. That's bullish for the market. Okay, it sucks for the consumer. All right, because when you got a weak dollar, all right, that means your money doesn't buy as much as it used to buy yesterday or last week. All right. But for the investor, okay, the weak dollar opens up new markets, all right? What was unaffordable before, now because there's a cheaper dollar, helps open up new markets, because now that the conversion rate from their currency, all right, out of the country, all right, might not cost as much, all right, and therefore our goods and services become more competitive, more affordable, and hence we sell more. Anytime we sell more, all right, that means more revenue. More revenue transcends into more earnings. More earnings transcends into higher price point for that security, which does what? Makes the market go higher, okay? So there's the dollar. Dollar is good for the markets when it's cheap, all right? Like again, for the consumer, not so much. All right, max pain for today, 623. All right, that's for the puts and calls that expired today. We got 1.89 puts for each call, okay? So almost 2 puts for each call that expires today at 4:15. Remember, the index options expire at 4:15, while the securities expire at 4. Okay, max pain, we already saw that. Economic calendar, again, this morning, CPI at 8:30 came out, and we have 2.7. Just going to share it with you. I'm going to see if I can decipher what I can decipher here. Just going to share it with you, if I can get it up there. Okay, thank you, Alan. Okay, so inflation picks up again, 2.7. Okay, we were looking forward to some good news in the pipeline, like, because we got everything's in an uptrend. You know what I'm saying? We've got, you can see IWM, which is the Russell 2000. That's like small caps and mid caps, bullish and in an uptrend. Made a new rally high, I think, within the last 7 days. Okay. Then you've got FNGU, again, made a new rally high within the last 7 days. Okay, some of them made new all-time highs. Okay, you got SPY and QQQ. You've got semiconductors and technology made a new all-time highs, I think, within the last 7 days. You got financials are bullish and up in quadrant 4. Okay, we had everything in an uptrend. All right, and we've got the falling dollar. So we have the perfect environment for a supercharged rally to the upside. All right, like a hyperbolic move. Okay, we just needed some good news. All right, some good stuff. All right, the big beautiful bill helps inject more money. Okay, so it does. It probably lays more debt on our children and our grandkids, but okay. But it's going to inject more into the economy. Again, we're investors, okay, not politicians or political analysts, all right? We just see that More money coming into the economy is going to help juice the economy up further. So that is good. That is good. Anytime the government just starts handing out money or new projects, that's good for the economy. All right? And we were looking forward to peace. All right? Peace around the world. All right? You can open up grocery stores. You know what happens in wartime? All right, all those grocery stores and shopping stores, nobody's working them. They're closed, all right? There's nothing inside them. They're not open, all right? But when you get peace, those stores reopen and those stocks and those shelves need to be stocked, okay? And that opens up commerce again. And when you get commerce flowing, all right, in business, all right, that means people can open up the pancake stand or the taco stand or the burger stand, okay, or the pizza box. You know what I'm saying? Okay, when commerce starts flowing again and money starts flowing, things start to improve and the economy goes up. Okay, those are all good news. All right, we were looking forward to some of that. Well, one of the things we were looking forward to was the rate cut. All right, and we were looking for inflation to come down a little further for the rate cut. Now, let me just say this, okay? Last time it was at 2.7, okay? Mr. Powell and the powers that be, not just Mr. Powell, okay? They did do some rate cutting, all right? I'm just going to say when they were down this much. So 2.7, I'm not really spooked because it's 2.7, all right? We are still doing well. All right, but I think it probably rose higher than what they expected. Okay, so we'll see what else we got. CPI, month over month, consensus was -2. All right, all the way up to 0.4. We got 0.3. So we're within the range on the month over month. On the year over year, okay, we had a range of 2.5 to 2.7. We're at the high side of the range. Okay, still within the range. Remember, the Fed has projected 2 more rate cuts, all right, before the end of the year. We'll see what happens, all right. Food and energy, 0.2. You can see we were at the low side of the range on month over month without food and energy, okay. And then ex food and energy year over year, 2.9. We're at the low side of the range. So really not too bad, all right. Really, I don't see that as a whole lot too bad. I would have liked to seen it down around 2.3, 2.5, but we didn't get it. Okay, let's try this one. And you can see 2.3, well, 0.3. All right, and year over year, of course, we didn't get a number. Ex food and energy, right there, 0.2. Again, the low side of the range. Okay, so there's our numbers. All right, so I'm going to take that out of the way. So that's CPI, 830. I don't see that as really that bad. Okay, probably unexpected, but I don't see it as that bad. Okay, Empire State Manufacturing Index, 830, and that's it for the day. That was the main event, CPI today. Okay, but we did have some big bank earnings, and those are just as important as CPI. Tomorrow, PPI final demand, 830, industrial production, 915, petroleum report at 1030, and then the beige book at 2. I'll cover these two on a following video. All right. Earnings this morning. What do we got? J.P. Morgan Chase, $800 billion. That's pretty close to $1 trillion. Not quite, but that's a lot of market cap that can move the markets. Wells Fargo, 268. Yeah, 268 billion. All right. Also this morning, and I would expect these banks. All right, this is investment banking here, okay? These guys should have some really good numbers, all right? Because they're the ones that facilitate these market highs that we're in right now. All right? If they're not smart enough to jump on the coattails of big money, all right, then obviously there's something sick inside of them. All right? Working inside, okay? Because I would expect these guys to all have good numbers. Now, if the market sells off, all right, that's a possibility, okay? But I would expect the earnings and the numbers to be fabulous, almost to fantastic. All right, so there's Morgan Chase, Fargo, BlackRock, Citigroup, Bank of New York Mellon. All right? Okay, all big ones there. They're capable of moving the markets. Tomorrow, Johnson & Johnson, $377 billion in the morning. Bank of America, $351 billion in the morning. ASML Holdings, $315 billion. So there's about $1 trillion right there. Okay, in the morning. Morgan Stanley, $228 billion in the morning. Goldman Sachs, there's investment banking, $216 billion in the morning. Okay, Progressive, $143 billion. Prologis, $101 billion. All this in the morning tomorrow. Okay, looking good. All right. Okay. Now, not one of these by themselves could move the market, but as a pack, if they happen to all report great numbers, we could see a big bump. We could see a little bump up further tomorrow morning. We'll see. Thursday, you got Taiwan Semiconductors. If they can get the P&L done in time, all right, and they're usually, that's technology, so they would report in the evening. All right, that's almost 1 trillion. That is 1 trillion right there. And then you've got Netflix, 500 billion. That's a $500 billion. Okay, they're going to report in the evening. Then you got GE, Aerospace and Defense. Okay, 272 billion. They're going to report in the morning. Okay, Netflix in Taiwan, Semi probably in the evening. GE in the morning. Novartis is drugs. 239 billion in the morning. Abbott Labs, more drugs or pharmaceuticals. I shouldn't say drugs, pharmaceuticals. 228 billion in the morning. And PepsiCo, 185 billion in the morning. And Marsh McLellan, 104 billion. Okay, and we'll cover Friday is American Express, HDFC Banking, all right, 194 billion. Mr. Schwab at 169 billion right there, okay? So there we are, all right? They don't even know if they're going to report yet. And Sharon asks, in the pre-market, the puts are more expensive than calls. Is that, I don't know, we can watch it. We'll see what happens, but we'll keep an eye on it and see what it wants to do. It might drop. I don't know. I don't really see a drop unless, of course, earnings came in crappy. All right, I don't see a drop, but let's take a look at SPY. Where's SPY now? How much did they give up? Really, not much. For pre-market. Okay, they're still hanging out in their range. To me, it looks like an EKG. They spiked the bottom, they spiked the top. I still think we're going higher today. We'll see what happens. All right. All right, that's it for me today, traders. Okay, I'll see you guys all. Again, I'm going to play a breakout of the range. I'm going to trade a breakout of the range. You can see they spike the top, spike the bottom. So whoever prints a candle up here, all right, then I'll go long or calls. If they print a candle down here, then I'll go short with puts for a possible gap fill. Or a J hook off of minor support right there. Okay, that's the plan for me this morning. All right. Again, 10-minute uptrends over VWAP, 10-minute downtrends under VWAP. All right, that's the plan. All right, I'll see you guys in 20 minutes. All right, thank you, everybody.